Ever since we got independence in 1947, India has transformed itself into the world's largest democracy. The unity amongst the Indian states is highly appreciated by political observers all across the globe. But is it really the case? Let's find out. Hello and welcome back to Breaking Burgers with Srihari. It is the election season in India as states like Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand gear up for elections in this month of February. Which brings us back to the everlasting question of democracy in India: is it a success or a failure? As I mentioned earlier, the unity amongst the states of India, despite its cultural differentiations, is highly appreciable. Despite having a larger population, the Indian government has managed to conduct elections on a regular basis. Combine it with the fact that we have broken the socio-economic shambles of poverty and high illiteracy rates back in 1947, it would seem as if the Indian economy and the Indian democracy is on the verge of achieving success. The Indian Constitution provides every citizen of India equal voting rights and prevents discrimination on the basis of social distinctions. Now, this all sounds good for a democratic nation, right? But shall we just put all these things into a bit more of perspective? The politicians and bureaucrats of India have been manipulating the poor and rural population of India by providing freebies and welfare schemes, turning them into short term but reliable vote banks. The more concerning part of elections is the usage of casteism and communal separatism to influence the voters of India. If this continues for prolonged periods, the unity that we have been proud of for the past 75 years will soon turn to dust. The rise in crime rates and violence is also a huge concern. Delhi, the national capital of India, recorded a whopping 1,937.1 crimes for every 100,000 inhabitants. This is a 22% rise from 2019. This is no surprise because India ranks 136 in the Global Peace Index, and it simply gets worse in terms of women's security and safety. In the Women Peace and Security Index, India drops to a horrendous 148 out of the 170 countries registered. The Indian government has simply not been able to tackle the issue of high crime rates against women. Once again, the crime rates went up even last year, but this time by a humongous 31%. As per Al Jazeera records, there are almost 600 one-stop crisis centers established all across the country. But the desired results are still not being derived, which is the most saddening and concerning part. Even if crimes are reported in India, getting justice is not really that easy. As per a report by India Today, the average presidency time of a case that is registered in one of the high courts is 1,128 days, which is approximately 3 years and 1 month before justice is served to the rightful party. It just gets worse in terms of subordinate courts in India, which solves almost 75% of the disputes across the country. It drops to a huge 6 years before justice is served in these subordinate courts. And as most of you know, these authorities form the foundation and it is the backbone of the Indian administration. The divide between the rich and the poor are increasing every year. The rich simply gets richer and the poor are becoming poorer. And this should not be the ideal case for an economy that is aspiring to reach $5 trillion by 2024. There is corruption and red tapeism in every stratum of the society. Even a simple right of a citizen, like right to information, still remains a farce in a country like India. Lakhs of crores of money is being poured in through the budget for the acquisition of defense equipment year after year. But the allocations made to resolve the real social issues like poverty and unemployment still remains very negligible. Even if welfare schemes are planned out and they do look good on paper, the implementation and administration processes has not been up to the mark, which also causes 90% of such schemes to fail. This is primarily due to the lack of accountability, proper follow-up action, and constant monitoring done after the implementation process. The lack of awareness regarding such schemes is also a big downside. This is because people of India are unaware regarding the introduction of such schemes and the right procedure to avail such schemes to their benefits. Finally, talking about the educational sector of India, the allocations made through the budget for educational enhancement received mixed responses from the public. Though the idea of digital university sounded really good and was appreciated by teachers as well as students, the lack of emphasis on the betterment of conditions and infrastructure of the government schools situated in rural India again received criticisms. Anil Swarup, the former secretary of the Department of School Education and Literacy, has expressed his thorough unhappiness regarding the allocations made with respect to the new education policy of 2020. The new education policy of 2020 advocated that at least 6% of the GDP be allocated for education for the entire policy to be successful. But the allocations received through this year's budget has been quite unsatisfactory. So with all these things considered and with all these things acting as determinants, does the Indian democracy still feel like a success or is it a failure altogether? Let me know in the comment section below. With that being said, this is Srihari signing off. I'll meet you soon with another episode of Breaking Burgers in the upcoming week. Until then, keep breaking.